Hey everyone, Scott with Greensboro Realty. Today we're going to walk through the entire home buying process from the beginning to the very end. So stay tuned. So the very first thing you want to do is find a real estate agent. And so my recommendation would not be to use the first agent that you find, but do your due diligence, do your homework, look at ratings, look at reviews, talk to clients of different agents, talk to your friends who they've used that they've really liked, and then also go on Google, look at their reviews. You can go on Facebook and look at their business page. Do they have reviews there? Are the reviews old? Is there anything new? You know, some agents did a lot and then they kind of fell off. And so you want to make sure that you have an agent that is actively working the market. They understand currently what is going on. And I've had other agents reach out to me that used to be in the market, but then they kind of fell off a little bit. And they reached out to me and said, hey, what's going on in the market? What's happening? What's due diligence looking like? So that's why it's really important to make sure you have an agent that is actively working the market, that are buying, selling homes, and then keeping their clients happy. So take the time to really do your due diligence, understand what's going on in the market, and then that way you will understand who that you want to work with and make sure they align. So when you're looking for an agent, you want to make sure you find the right agent for you. And so there are a lot of different agents out there. They all have their own different personalities, obviously, but you want to make sure that you find an agent that meshes well with you. Also, I'd recommend that you set the expectations on what you want. So if you're super motivated and you're ready to go, set that expectation with your agent that you are ready to rock and roll and you want to move forward as soon as possible. Or if you need something in the next 6 months or something like that, let your agent know so that way they don't overwhelm you with properties initially. So having that expectation is really going to help out. Also on how you expect to be communicated with. If you want daily updates and daily emails or daily text messages, or if you only want updates once a week, set that expectation with your agents. When I work with my clients, I always ask, what do you want? How do you want to be communicated with? And then that way I know that, if my clients want weekly updates, I give them weekly updates. If they want daily updates, I can do that also. But a lot of times there's a lot of dead periods within the process. So set your expectations with your agent in the very beginning, and that way your agent knows how to communicate with you. The next part of the process is the home search. And so this to me is one of the fun parts is, setting up the MLS search, finding the criteria that's right for you. And so you really want to sit down with your agent and also think about, before you meet with your agent, what type of home are you looking for? And it's very, very important that you're very specific on the home you're looking for. I've had clients that, are looking for a home in Greensboro, and they start sending me homes in the mountains. They start sending me homes at the beach. And so it's very hard for me as a real estate agent to dial in the right home for you if you don't know your criteria and what you're looking for. And what type of home are you looking for? And it's very, very important that you're very specific on the home you're looking for. So you want to make sure you spend that time really thinking what's important for you. I usually sit down with all my clients and have that conversation. Close your eyes. What do you see? What is your dream home? What is the home that you want? What is in that home? Where is it at? Those kind of things. And that's really, really important for you as a buyer to understand. You need to understand where you want to be, what your home looks like, and then that way your agent can set up that MLS search and then help you find the right home. And so once we find a home that we identify that we like, is within your price range, then at that point we set up a showing. And then typical showings are around 30 minutes. Sometimes they go a little bit longer. It depends on the property and what the listing agent is willing to do. So you go to the showing. Your agent should be looking for any types of deficiencies in the property. And so what I do typically when I do my showings is I bring flashlights. Sometimes I'll bring a moisture meter. I go under the crawl space in the attic, because if you're going to put due diligence down on a property, which we'll talk about in the next area, you really want to make sure you understand or have a good idea of what you're about to put money down on, because that due diligence money is typically lost and you typically do not get it back. The next part of the process is getting pre-approved for a loan. And so there are several different loan types out there. You have everything from conventional loans to FHA loans, which is the Federal Housing Authority, also VA or Veterans Affairs loans. And then there's other loans that kind of fall in certain other categories there. But you want to make sure that you understand what type of loan that you want. So each loan is going to be a little bit different. and there's different areas that you can use the loan. So for example, if you plan on buying a property that needs a little bit of updating, you may want to get like an FHA 203K loan. Or if you have great credit and you want a fairly strong loan, you can get something like a conventional loan. Or if you have a lower credit score or you have less money to put down, you can go for something like an FHA loan. But each loan is going to have different things that you're going to have to do. So for a conventional loan, you know, if you have a good credit score, the loan works pretty good. There is an appraisal process, and we'll talk about that in the due diligence period. But that appraisal is a little bit less strenuous than it would be if you were doing an FHA loan, because the FHA loan is government backed. And so there are certain things that they have to make sure that are done within the property. So for example, a conventional loan, you just want to make sure that it appraises most of the time. Now, unless there's a serious deficiency on the property, like there's a hole in the roof or something like that. On an FHA loan, they look at safety things. So are there handrails on the stairs? Is there a giant hole in the roof? Is there any issues with lead paint? So those kind of things they look at on an FHA loan, and also on a Veterans Affairs or a VA loan too. So you want to make sure you understand the type of loan that you're going with, and not all loan types work for all properties. So for example, a house that needs work is probably either going to need a cash offer, or it's going to have a conventional offer. Sometimes those properties will not allow you to use FHA loans unless you go with something like an FHA 203K loan, which is a rehabilitation loan for the property. So there's a lot of different loans there. You should really talk to your agent about which loan you want to go with. And then also keep in mind, on a VA loan, you do have to be former active military to get that type of loan. All right, so now you found the right home. You're excited, you're ready to make an offer, but now comes the offer to purchase process. And so what the offer to purchase is a very lengthy document, especially in North Carolina. And on that offer to purchase, it talks about, you know, how much you're willing to offer on the house, what's your due diligence amount, what's your earnest money amount, you know, what you're requesting be left in the home. And so your agent should be walking you through the process. They should help you determine, you know, how much you should offer on the property, whether it's list price, above list price, or even below list price, depending on many situations. And a lot of things, you know, come into account when it comes to that. So whether it's, if it's a very popular property, then you probably need to go a little bit above list price. If it's been sitting on the market for a while, you probably want to go below list price. Also, due diligence amounts are going to change too. So for example, if the home looks really nice, they didn't see any deficiencies, or the agent didn't see any deficiencies as they walked through, you can probably go a little bit higher due diligence, which makes your offer stronger, but you also have more confidence in the home. But the home looks like it needs some work, or there may be some hidden issues, then you might want to go with a lower due diligence, because that way, if you do lose the money, it's not going to hurt quite as bad. So keep that in mind. So now what you want to do is fill out the offer to purchase. Your agent should do this for you using the recommended forms. And so they will put in the purchase price, they will put in due diligence amount, earnest money amount, they will put in the due diligence period. And so when it comes to due diligence, there is money that in North Carolina that's set aside for due diligence. And that is the money that you put set aside to hold the property for the inspections. And so when it comes to inspections, and I have a whole list of it, or a whole nother video on what the inspections and things are that are included within due diligence. But it's that time period that you hold the property for the inspection. And so you basically write a check to the seller and give that check to the seller. And it's very, very rare that you would ever get that money back unless something just absolutely falls through on the process. For example, one time I had a house that the kitchen pipe above the ceiling froze, and then the kitchen fell in. So at that point, my buyer could have gotten all their money back, but they went forward with the transaction and kept the due diligence there. And so, you know, on the due diligence period, you're doing your home inspection, your pest inspection. You know, you may do a radon inspection. There are a big list of other inspections. And so check out that video, and that can give you a little bit of idea on what actually all goes within that due diligence period. And also the appraisal. And so the appraisal is very, very important, and make sure that you get that done. And so with the appraisal, if it comes in at list price, then you're good. What happens though, if the home does not appraise, then you as the buyer have to bring the additional money to the table to make up the difference. So for example, if say you offered $100,000 on a property, and that's the offer you're making, but the home only appraises for $95,000, then you would have to bring an additional $5,000 to cover that gap in the appraisal whenever you close. So it's very, very important that you understand what that means. And then also on the FHA or the VA side, there's a special appraisal where they go in and do a full, almost inspection of the home, looking for any safety type issues. So that's the, missing handrails on the stairs, that's lead-based paint, water leaks, things like that. So the FHA appraisal and VA appraisal is fairly strict, but it's because the government is backing your loan and they want to make sure that what they're giving you money for, they're going to be able to get their money back out of it if you ever default. And so then you get through due diligence, and then so at the end of due diligence, once you go through the inspections, you get your, if there's any deficiencies there, you get contractors that come in, they take a look at it, they tell you, okay, this is going to be this much to fix. You get your due diligence repair request together, and then you take that to the list agent, say, hey, we're requesting this be fixed. And a lot of times what will happen is most agents will meet with their sellers. The sellers will say, well, I'm not going to fix it, but I'll give you some credit at closing. So that's less money you as a buyer have to bring to closing to be able to buy the property, which is pretty good. Now, once due diligence is agreed upon and the due diligence repair request is agreed upon, then you go, once the due date is passed, you go into what's called the earnest money period, or the earnest period. And so after that point, you have additional money in earnest that you paid typically to hold the property until closing. So keep in mind, if you back out during due diligence period, you lose your due diligence money. But if you back out during earnest money period, then you lose your due diligence money and your earnest money period. So if you need to back out of the property, you need to do it during due diligence, so that way you get your earnest money back. So now, once you get through your earnest money period, you are getting to closing. And so closing is where you want to bring that check with all your closing costs. So that's your down payment, that's the loan costs, your points, whatever else is involved in there. It could be taxes. You will have to do an escrow for so many months of your insurance and so many months of your taxes. And so I always tell my clients, look for at least 2 to 3% of the total purchase price to be in closing costs. And that's also on top of whatever you're going to put down for your down payment. So it's very, very important that you have plenty of money and you know what that cost is going to be before you get through the due diligence. And a lot of times your lenders will give you an estimate, and they're required to give you an estimate within 3 days of doing an application. And so once you get that, and it should not vary a whole lot, but you should be prepared for what that is. Now, I will also tell you, your agent should help you understand what those closing costs are going to be. I always overestimate closing costs for my clients, so that way it's typically less. Most of the time it's always less than what I estimate. So that way they understand how much money they've got to have to bring to closing. And then you get your certified check, you give it to the lender, or you wire the money to the lender, either way. And then you go to closing, you sign a lot of paperwork when it comes to loans. And then at that point, the home is sent, or the deed is then sent to the county office for recording. And once the property is recorded, then the home is officially yours. It's not officially your home until it's officially recorded with the Register of Deeds in your county. So that is the entire home buying process. And there's a lot that goes into it, but this is kind of a very high level and quick overview. If you want to see a little bit more of detail in certain areas, then I have more videos that really walk you through in detail what each of these areas mean. So if you have any questions, reach out to me if you're looking for a realtor in the Piedmont Triad area, or if you're anywhere in the country looking for a realtor, I can always help you out. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks for watching.